I'm comfy. I'm ready.
I'm Megan.
Well,
Okay, well, that's
cue
it.
the applause. Should we do?
Well, Nick Tech CEO.
That's me. I'm the Nick Tech CEO.
I sure have a story for you.
Oh boy.
I think I have a story for you. It should be the intro.
The intro?
Yeah.
Like the intro phrase?
Yeah.
Ha! I got a story for you.
That's exactly right.
Okay. All right.
Okay. So, Nick, do you know the movie Emperor's New Groove?
No.
The movie about Cusco.
Just kidding. Of
the
course
movie
I do.
chosen especially about
Chosen
Cusco.
especially for Cusco.
Cusco's movie. That movie?
Yeah.
You know that one?
Featuring Crunk.
Yeah. Do you like it?
Yeah, no, it's a good movie.
Yeah. Okay. Well, it almost didn't exist.
Okay. I thought you were about to like ruin it for me and be like, the Nazis made that movie.
Well, Disney did, but no. Sorry, he was dead. He was dead. Okay. So we reference that movie a lot. Honestly, like, if it wasn't made, I think we would both have a giant llama-sized hole in our hearts and souls.
Yeah.
In some parallel dimension, knowing that it should have been made.
Some Paramount dimension.
Yeah, Paramount
No, this
dimension.
is
It was supposed to be a Paramount.
Supposed to be a Paramount movie.
It was supposed to be a Paramount. No. But
So
seriously,
that's a crucial detail. That's like,
yeah,
it's kind of paramount.
it's kind of Paramount.
All right, I'll let you talk.
Yeah, this back and forth is really making me Disney.
No. Okay.
Okay, well, like everything, it all starts with The Lion King.
Like everything.
Okay, so in 1994, I guess I should say up front that my sources for this.
Oh, sources first. Okay.
Yeah, because somebody's going to be like, you didn't come up with. Yeah.
Excuse me.
Yeah, that's exactly what they're going to say.
According to my research.
So most of this came from the Sweatbox documentary, the documentary that Disney swears doesn't exist.
That's how you know it's a good one.
Wikipedia, source of all true information.
Oh boy.
Vulture article called An Oral History of Disney's Emperor's New Groove, and a YouTube video called The Making of Emperor's New Groove Was a Shit Show, from the YouTube show It Was a Shit Show.
Interesting.
Okay.
Never heard of that.
Okay, so it was 1994. Picture it. You're right there.
I'm there.
You're there.
I'm in there.
3, 4,
I'm
5.
in there deep, dude.
5 years before
94?
you existed.
I remember 94. That's a bad comment to follow up. I didn't exist.
It was a year before I existed. So Disney was in its renaissance at the height of popularity as a company and in cinema overall, recreating and far surpassing the success that they had in the Walt era. So like Walt, when he was alive and the executor of the company,
The executor.
He killed all of So like Mickey Mouse, Snow White, Jungle Book in the 30s and 40s, you know, those older ones, the ones that were like, you know, classics or whatever. So this was a timely success for the company because it was after its most expensive, or I guess it was timely because it was ready to make its most expensive and least lucrative movie.
Treasure Planet?
The Black Cauldron.
Oh. I was gonna say Treasure Planet that came later.
Yeah, that was not 94. So yeah, The Black Cauldron, and this was literally like the death of Disney as a cinema company. Like they were really struggling to get by. And
is The Black Cauldron the one that's like no longer available, or is that something else?
No, it still exists. It's just like the creepiest. They tried too hard, and it was very scary for children.
The one with Googie with all the munchies and crunchies, and he wants just munchies and crunchies.
See, I don't remember that.
Yeah,
I think you're confusing this with Lord of the Rings.
Essentially, I mean, Gurgi and Gollum have very similar attributes, except one of them is covered in hair and the other one has none.
Ah.
Yeah, he's like a walking dog bear thing. I don't know.
Okay.
Disney was clearly reaching. So that was the point that they were at. So in a last ditch effort to save the company, because the current, I don't remember which Disney it was, but one of Disney's sons was currently the CEO of the company, and they decided they're going to appoint this guy named Jeffrey Katzenberg as the head of the film division.
It's Jeffrey Katzenberg.
Katzenberg.
It's raining cats and birds. That's the only thing I can think of.
Katzenberg.
Raining cats. Oh, Berg.
It's raining cats and birds.
Cats and bird. Okay, Katzenberg. Sure.
So he came on and he ruled Disney's animation team with an iron fistula.
Pardon?
An iron fistula. He created a work environment so toxic that it could have been a cult. And it's honestly, I think it's the introduction to the Disney that we all know and love today. That kind of environment.
A cult.
I'd argue that the cult mentally lives on today in some of its diehard fans.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so anyway, he produced results.
Okay.
This guy actually, he's like, okay, his methods may be a little questionable and made some people contemplate suicide, but
Oh my God.
honestly, like they were back on top, and they, we weren't alive back then in the 80s and 90s, but that was when Disney came out with big names: Little Mermaid, Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin, and eventually The Lion King.
Mm-hmm.
To this day, Lion King is the highest grossing traditionally animated film of all time.
Oh, really?
To this day.
It still holds, huh?
Still holds.
Wow.
Mostly because traditional animation is dead.
Yeah, that's true.
Mostly in part to this movie that we're about to talk about.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. Isn't that nice? But to everybody's emotionally scarring experience working with Disney, Katzenberg brought Disney back from the brink of extinction and then immediately quit when he was passed over for a promotion. Sound like anybody you know?
Passed over for a promotion.
Well, he was kind of full of himself and he wanted all the credit. And when they were like, no, you're not going to get a promotion, he was like, okay, well, fuck you. And Katzenberg didn't leave the game completely, He did what all good people would do. He said, fuck them. I'll do it better. And he convinced Steven Spielberg to create a new studio with him called DreamWorks.
Oh, really?
Yep.
That's okay.
And the reason for its success is largely in part to Katzenberg, but also in part to the fact that he poached a lot of Disney animators.
Oh, sure. Oh, yeah. Oh, my gosh.
Yeah. I mean, imagine a world without Shrek.
Yeah, geez. And then, oh, man, and then Disney came full circle.
Yeah.
They eventually bought that.
Yep. Eventually, and Disney's eventually, we're going to be the United States of Disney soon.
Yeah, that's where we're headed.
Okay, well, Katzenberg's absence at Disney was evident almost immediately in some classic to us, but not as monetarily successful movies, such as Pocahontas, Hunchback of Notre Dame, Mulan, and Tarzan were a step up, but their budgets were far exceeding their measly returns.
That was after Katzenberg left?
Yes.
Okay. Interesting. So he left, and then Disney made all of their culturally inaccurate films and all their no, I guess it's not like racist, but
oh no, I mean you're on the right track here. And there's a person in this story who would heavily agree with you.
Oh, okay.
So they're like trying to live off of the measly returns of Mulan and Tarzan, but they're actually hurting themselves because they have another venture that they're working with called Pixar.
Okay, yeah.
Started computer animation, and audiences are more interested in that than traditional animation.
Right.
So even though Lion King ended up being like one of the biggest successes, it had its own production issues, and it started out as a documentary like film that Katzenberg left in the middle of it. He wanted it to be a musical, and he was like, "We're not making this documentary film. Nobody wants to see that. We're going to make what we know and what is successful as we know it, a musical." So he had the original creator step down from the project, and it was given to Rob Minkoff and Roger Allers to save. Roger Allers. Remember that name.
Roger.
Okay, so you know that iconic scene in The Lion King where
Long live the king.
Yeah, it's right after that.
Oh, okay.
So Mufasa dies in the stampede.
Right.
Spoiler alert to anybody who hasn't seen Lion King.
The most famous hand animated movie
ever.
That was made in. Never mind. Okay. Continue.
Yeah, it was made in 94. So if you haven't seen it now, you're like almost 30 years late on that bus.
You're not living under a rock. You're just not living.
You're
not alive.
You're probably Amish and you wouldn't be listening to this.
You're probably Amish and you're doing something wrong right now.
You're on Rumspringa, and if you haven't seen The Lion King and you're on Rumspringa, I highly recommend that's something that you spend some time on.
Oh my gosh.
Some of your
to all of our Amish viewers out there. Viewers, yeah. All of our Amish, yeah, okay, anyway. That's a dead joke now. All right, let's continue.
So, speaking of dead, Simba's dad is dead. And Simba goes over to his body, and he's like, Dad, wake up. Wake up. And he goes under his paw, and he's like crying, and a lot of people on the film thought this was way too morbid for a child audience. They were like, that's way too sad. But Roger Allers was like, no, I think they can handle it. And it paid off. It's one of the biggest scenes ever.
Yeah.
I mean, it's talked about all the time. Like right now on this very prominent podcast. But because of this and leading this project, he was granted a project of his own. And this project was called
The Groove of the New Emperor.
The Kingdom of the Sun. That's right. So, and you were on the right track. They were like, let's bring in other cultures. Let's like study other cultures. So their inspiration came from Incan mythology with all of the elements of a classic Disney film.
Getting the mythology wrong, not researching it.
And appropriating a culture.
A culture to gain profit.
Yeah, for the white man.
Exactly.
And I just want
all the features of a great Disney movie.
Really want to mention that this documentary, there was only white men working at Disney at this time.
For sure.
Like there was like maybe 2 women, but
so it really was just white men.
No people of color.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. No. So that was just like. It's hard to believe that they even made something functional for children, let alone just, Well,
you would think that it works because it's children, because they're just.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like educated people. Oh, sorry. Am I boring you?
No. It's
not like educated people are like watching this and being like critical, like watching it with a critical eye. It's like, it's for kids. Children. For chids.
For chids. Children. It's for children.
It's for children. For chid.
Okay.
For chid.
Chidge. It's for the chidge.
Okay. So, his whole thing was he was going to do like a Prince and the Pauper type thing, which is just an old fable done and done over again. A common man teaching an arrogant man how to rule. That's the base.
Okay.
So that was exactly the reaction that the pitch got from Disney management. They were like, "Oh, so it's just the Prince and the Pauper," and he was like, "No, it's so much more than that. It's like all of that, but like Incan mythology and like there's love, there's drama, there's
love, there's drama, there's llama.
I mean, pretty much. He was like, love, drama, llama.
Love, drama, llama.
Can't have drama without the llama. So he tried to give it its own twist. But there were a little more than a few twists that he made. So this is the most pared down version of the synopsis of the original movie I could make. Kingdom of the Sun is a tale of a greedy, selfish emperor named Manco, who finds a peasant named Pacha who looks exactly like him. Total dead ringer. He decides to swap places with Pacha for fun. Unbeknownst to Manco, however, an evil sorceress, Yzma, has plans to summon the god of darkness to block out the sun because she wants her youth back and she blames the sun for her wrinkles in exchange for eternal youth. Yzma discovers the switch between the peasant and the emperor and capitalizes on the situation by turning Manco into a mute llama. As you do. And threatens to reveal Pacha's identity unless he obeys her. So Lama Manco learns humility in his new form, falls in love with a female llama herder. Sidebar about the bestiality here. Like that.
What? Oh.
A woman, llama herder, falling in love with a llama she doesn't know is a person because he can't talk.
She's falling. Okay.
So he falls in love with a llama herder. I'm just saying, like, Disney set yourself up for like some bestiality charges there. Okay, but Pacha also has a romance with the emperor's fiance.
Yo!
Who finds this new Manco to be much kinder and more compassionate than the old emperor she thought she knew. And together, they set out to undo the witch's plans, and ultimately, the story ends with a real Incan mythological legend. Say that 5 times.
Mythological legend.
Pacha lassoing the sun back into position.
When did the sun go out of position?
When Yzma took it away.
Oh, Yzma took it away.
The god of darkness took the sun away.
I was like, wait, okay. Okay.
So that's kind of a lot, right?
Yeah, no, when you started talking about that, the first inclination I got was Boy in the Striped Pajamas.
Which is what you think when you think of a Disney film.
Well, because the first thing I got was that these two people switch places. And then this evil person comes in and accidentally kills or tries to kill. That was my thought, because you hadn't said it yet. That was my thought, is that she was going to kill the prince. And she kills this guy instead because they switch places. Not to mention the fact that her reasons for wanting to kill the prince are very selfish, because she wants to get rid of wrinkles.
Right.
So I was like,
it's
this
literally
is just
vanity at its most vain.
I was like, it's like, well, I guess it's not propaganda. I guess it is propaganda to like make fun of, like I think we did that, right? When was World War II? Back then.
In World War II, yeah.
In World War II, we made fun of Hitler for everything, right? There were political cartoons of Hitler drawn in weird ways. So yeah. I was like, yeah, this is just the Boy in the Striped Pajamas. But that's not the way that the story went.
No, yeah. It went in a completely different direction. Which is possibly another problem.
Yeah.
Where it just, nobody could really know where it was going. It was kind of ambitious.
Yeah.
The words big and britches come to mind.
Big britches. Big britches.
So, like, everybody's like listening to this and they're like, oh my gosh, wow. Like thinking, Lion King, like that level of like grandiose production. And they're like, it's got all the solid elements of a Disney movie. But the Disney executives were starting to worry, rightfully so, that this might be a little too complex and ambitious. And they could see all of the pieces, like, and they were all like Disney pieces, like solid Disney pieces, but they couldn't see the full picture. Like the pieces weren't coming together. It was like he took a piece from every single Disney movie and tried to make a new puzzle. And so this uncertainty started a frequently used phrase among the members of the studio, where they would say, like, oh, I don't really know what's happening, but everybody would reassure them by saying, remember the lion, or remember the Lion King.
Oh, they started saying, did they actually, is this real? Did they actually say that?
Yeah, this was in the documentary.
Remember the lion.
Remember the Lion King. Like, just give him his genius at work.
Let him cook.
Literally. It was like, don't worry about it. It's gonna turn out. He's a genius. We all know it. The Lion King paid off, right? We were all unsure about that. And it started this, like, basically, it was like gaslighting everybody into saying everything was fine.
Yeah.
He did good before, so we trust that he'll pull this off too. But that, that kind of no objections, total faith, total compliant attitude that most cult followers have, gets groups into bad situations. That's like the whole definition of groupthink. This was Disney's Bay of Pigs. Do you know the Bay of Pigs? Where the military was like, oh, we can't invade Cuba, so let's just send a bunch of civilians in to try and invade Cuba. And they were like, yeah, that's a great idea. And they all died. Or something like that. I don't actually know. But it was basically that. It was.
We should go for a reference that our audience would know.
Everybody knows the Bay of Pigs.
Like the Full Metal Alchemist scene. No, I'm just kidding. Okay.
The Full Metal Alchemist scene, like what?
Like the Wall of Briggs. He led the country of Drogma into what they thought was going to be a one-sided battle, and it was a one-sided battle.
The other way. That
they
might have referenced that off the Bay of Pigs.
I guess in a way. Yeah. It could be, because Drogma was in like a political scuffle with whatever the Hyrule.
Hyrule.
I don't remember what their town was called.
This is just like the Hylian battle. No.
This reminds me of a story of the Demon King.
And the Blood Moon.
Okay.
No money will come from the making of this podcast. We will be sued by Nintendo and Disney. And be issued a big cease and desist. Okay. So things were about to get even more complicated.
Hell yeah.
Disney recognized the success they had at bringing big artists in to build up their soundtracks. So,
they brought in Da Vinci.
With Disney's patented time machine.
Like when you say like bringing in big artists, I just think of a bunch of like modern era artists that are like trying to draw a llama.
Picasso just in there making his little llama.
And then Da Vinci's doing his dot paintings.
Vincent Van Gogh makes a screaming llama.
Screaming llama. Oh my god.
Everybody knows the famous painting Llama in Algiers.
Those are the famous artists.
Yes.
The famous artists.
No, sorry, famous musical artists. So Elton John in Lion King.
Oh, okay.
Turned out to be a gold mine, And so it became like the norm.
No way. Did they bring in Lin-Manuel Miranda? They had him do that.
No, they do that. They do now.
They do now.
That's all. That they were like, we're not gonna like flip flop and go find other. No, it's just Lin-Manuel Miranda. No, okay. So they had Bette Midler for The Hunchback. I know you don't know her. Mm-mm. Christina Aguilera for Mulan. She did Reflection.
Oh yeah.
Phil Collins in Tarzan,
of course,
and Michael Bolton in Hercules.
Yes,
and Pirates of the Caribbean.
Michael Bolton, the brother of Trey Bolton from the famous
Troy Bolton.
Troy Bolton from the famous musical. They brought in the best musical artist.
Yeah, and that's also a Disney film.
It is a Disney film. I did not know that they had connections to his brother.
They brought him back for Pirates of the Caribbean. Have you heard
Troy Bolton?
No, Michael Bolton.
Okay.
Have you heard his song? This is the tale of Captain Jack Sparrow.
Am I missing a joke, or is this real?
No, that's a real song by Michael Bolton. Okay. So
boy.
They intended to do the same thing with the chart topping, the same kind of chart topping ballad, iconic full score for this movie. And our
they
boy
brought in Led Zeppelin. What's his name? What's the guy's name from Led Zeppelin?
Mr. Zeppelin
Mr.
himself.
Zeppelin himself. No. He goes by Mr. Led. Okay, sorry. No, who was it?
Zeppelin. Led Zeppelin.
No, our boy Roger, asked the world famous,
Yeah.
Gordon Matthew Thomas Sumner,
Okay.
otherwise known as Sting.
Oh, Sting, famous for songs like "Just Another Brick in the Wall" and
no,
that's I'm making a joke. I'm just kidding.
No,
That wasn't Sting.
no, that was
Pink Floyd.
oh.
That's what I was trying to do. What's that song called?
I don't know anything.
Okay, well,
Tom Sawyer.
Let's move on. Really failed joke.
Okay, so
Yeah.
Sting was super excited because he was like, Elton John was like infamous because of
Infamous?
he was famous. He reached a level of famous that was like unreachable.
Right.
For Disney music, and he was up for the challenge. So then Sting's wife, Trudy Styler,
Stingette,
Mrs. Sting, asked if she could capture the whole process on film. And the studio believed this might actually be the thing that keeps Sting on the boat. If his wife is like making a project around it, then he has to keep staying involved for her project to keep going. So they were like, yeah, sure. And we're all glad that they did, except for Disney itself, who tried to remove the whole documentary from the face of the internet. And the only places you can find it are torrented copies and pirated copies that people reposted.
I see.
And this was a documentary called The Sweatbox.
Oh. That doesn't sound good.
No, so a sweatbox is a place where, people get together and they work really, really hard. It's like a sweatshops, but it's like a think box, like a think tank. And that's basically what she was comparing this machine to.
Oh, geez.
Which Disney, I'm sure, was like, no, we're a big happy family. What are you talking about? We haven't had abuse of power here in 25 years. I don't know.
Yeah.
But fortunately, Disney was unsuccessful at completely removing the documentary from the internet. So I've seen it 3 times.
Nice.
Yeah, it's pretty great. So back to the story. 1997.
Yep.
This was right after the Police broke up and Sting was going solo.
Right.
So he jumped at the opportunity to write songs for a Disney movie. He was like, this is going to be my new project. This is going to be what puts me on the map. And so he brought on his compadre, David Hartley, to collaborate with the song so he wouldn't have to the solely Sting sound. Because Sting has a very, identifiable, unique sound to his music. Like, you hear him singing.
Yeah.
You know exactly that
that's Sting right there.
That's Sting, yeah.
Where did we get him a microphone?
Yeah. Sting, do you want to come in? Yeah, sure. Just kidding. Now Sting's going to send us a cease and desist as well.
Great. That's a third one.
We're going to get so many people's autographs. The head of Nintendo, the head of Disney, and Sting.
And the head of Walt Disney.
And Walt Disney himself is going to come back from the dead and say, get the fuck off my nuts.
Oh my God.
My enchanted nuts. So they all got to work, and they wrote 6 songs.
6?
Yeah. And you've heard all these songs in the movie, right?
No.
Exactly. So you know how that story
I
is.
was actually just thinking about that. I was like, wait a minute. There was no Sting song in Emperor's New Groove.
Yeah. Yeah, isn't that weird? They brought on this artist.
I can't believe it took me that long to figure that out.
You're like, I was don't remember Sting being in that movie.
Sting wrote "Run Llama Run." The distinct Sting sound.
Yeah.
Run, llama, run, llama, run.
Yeah, that's a very Sting song.
Very Sting.
Absolutely.
It's a very distinct Distinct. Okay.
It's a distinct song. He's very distinguished.
Oh my god.
Oh man.
Okay.
Okay, so right at this point, you're like looking at this and you're like, okay, this has all the ingredients for a Disney smash hit, right?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. Obviously, that's the movie they made, right?
No.
So in the documentary at this point, Sting is like, well, the only problem is that they hadn't really settled on a script.
Oh, no.
So they had all the elements of a story, of a movie, but they didn't have a fucking script.
Oh, my God. Okay.
Okay. So this, like, imagine you hired, you hired a mechanic to make you hired a tailor to make a tarp for a car that doesn't exist. Mm-hmm. You know, like a car cover. It has to be like form fitting to protect it from the weather. But you're like, okay, so just like start making it, but we don't like have it yet. Mm-hmm. That's what Sting was doing. He was like making music for a movie that didn't exist yet. He was writing songs in the dark, just like creating musical ideas for what he thought would fit with what they're going for. But it wasn't just the lack of a script that indicated Sting entered at a bad time. So the producer, Randy Fulmer, started pressuring Roger Allers, our boy. You remember him, right? Mm-hmm. To make some serious changes. So he hired on this boy, Mark Dindal, to be Allers' co-creator, co-director. You know, it's always good when your boss is like, hey, you're doing such a great job, but we're going to bring somebody in to help you do
a really
great job.
Yeah, that's always good.
Yeah. Like if you like, you know, somebody was like, hey, you're a really great salesman, but we're going to bring somebody in to do your job with you. Mm-hmm. That definitely instills confidence, right?
Oh, yeah. No, for sure.
Yeah. Okay, so Mark had done some work as an effects animator on The Little Mermaid, another project Roger had worked on, and they got to work on making the fixers the producers wanted, but the problem was anything that they changed was going to make the songs already composed by Sting for the current storyline completely useless.
Yeah, that's a bit of an issue.
Yeah, exactly the thing you want to tell a megastar. Like, hey, thanks for your year of work, but could you scrap all of that and do something else for us? Thanks. Mm-hmm. And it's actually, I like, it's kind of heartbreaking to watch because, like, these unreleased recordings are actually really good. They're really good songs, but...
Yeah, I gotta hear these now.
Yeah. The movie they were making was very different, but the songs were definitely good. But they were definitely Sting songs. Oh. I don't really know how they would work into a Disney film. No. Because, like, and that was one of the concerns that the corporation had, was that they love Sting, but is he too sophisticated for, like, an animated film?
Well, apparently he wasn't too sophisticated for an animated show. Arcane?
Oh, yeah. Sting recently did Arcane. Mm-hmm. We're going to have to do a whole thing on the making of Arcane, too. The
making of Arcane, yeah.
But yeah, he wrote a song for Yzma that was like so catchy and dark, and the voice actress of it actually recorded it. Like they all did recordings of songs for this movie. Yeah. And it was, I mean, it was really good, but it was like so dark. So she was a mortician's daughter. And
okay, so she's used to it then.
Well, no, the character was supposed to be a mortician's daughter.
Oh my gosh.
And this animation sequence had like a lot of dead things and skulls, and she was like, I'm used to the dead, but I don't want to be dead yet. And like she's talking about her youth and whatever, and it was like really scary.
Oh yeah, that's very strange.
And I'm like, this is exactly what Disney didn't want. This is what the Black Cauldron was. Like they wanted to avoid making that mistake again. So with all the changes they were making, Sting was starting to get frustrated. He felt like the animators were trying to stifle his musical creativity and melodic storytelling.
Yeah.
And he said, quote, "I'm telling a story, and what you've done here, you've taken out the two lines that encapsulate the whole thing for me. Filmmakers want to make everything short and punchy, but songs have to have a certain amount of time to breathe, and they have to have their structure intact. If you take one brick out of the wall, they will collapse."
So he was the guy that wrote "The Brick in the Wall." Pink Floyd is a lie.
Yeah, it's actually Stink Floyd.
Pink Sting.
Pink Sting. Pink Stink.
No.
Okay, so the president of feature animation, Peter Schneider, and vice president Thomas Schumacher. He was making shoes.
Yeah.
They didn't want to control Roger, but they did want progress. Like, that's what their whole fucking job is. And a movie that would make them, and they didn't want progress, but they wanted a movie that would make them a fuck ton of money.
Right.
A shit fuck of money, if you will.
A symmetric shit ton.
A symmetric shit ton, like $8,000,00008. It's a symmetric.
Stop. It's not even. It's not. If you have commas in there, it's not.
That was terrible.
Wait, is it? I don't want to be thinking about this.
Yeah,
Let's move
anyway.
on.
Okay, so we're 4 years into this movie.
Oh my God.
And about a third of the movie has been animated already.
Oh my Lord.
And Tom and Peter, the Prezi and Vice Prezi, held a screening to see the whole movie for the first time on story reels. So it wasn't fully animated, but they had the
storyboard, yeah.
Yeah. It did not go well. The execs said the movie lacked focus, it lacked fun, it lacked draw, and it lacked a genre. So essentially there was no story and nothing they really liked except for the love song and the llama songs that Sting wrote and the funny little side bits that were created by Mark Dindal. Everything else that Roger did and loved, they did not like.
Oh, jeez.
So to the indignation of the crew and all of their darlings that were just signed off to the chopping block, they had to go in a new direction. And the crew was uneasy to say the least, but rumors were flying. Meanwhile, a bunch of Disney writers and directors and other other Disney projects were invited into a brain trust, and they tried to talk out how to make the pieces of the movie that they already had work together. And Disney execs were starting to lose faith in Roger. They had about 6 different storylines that they were working on, and Roger tried to request a 6-month extension so he could try to make some of it work. But Tom and Peter said, absolutely fucking not. They were pushing back on a movie release date that would make them lose merchandise contracts that they already had with McDonald's Happy Meals toys.
Ooh, yeah, I can't lose the account with McDonald's.
No, that's their biggest source of revenue is like selling those fucking little toys that everybody threw away.
Yeah, pretty much.
Among other contracts that they had for merchandising. And this movie was already way over budget and they needed to come up with a hit and they needed it yesterday.
Yep.
So the next course of action was obvious. It was time for a bake-off.
What? What?
They called it a bake-off.
A bake-off?
They called it a bake-off.
They called it a bake-off.
All right. So
Okay.
Disney was like, all right, last-ditch effort. Totally unprecedented. Never done before. But because they lacked leadership and they lacked decisiveness because Katzenberg was gone, he was the guy who was like, I want that. I want that. We're doing that. So they decided to do another screening of a movie to know that no one particularly liked, and everybody was marched down to the story room. And Tom and Peter, Vice President and Prezi, came in. They closed the doors. They sat down, and Tom said, quote, "We want to thank everyone for their work on the screening, and we'd like to ask you to leave now.
Oh.
We want to talk to Mark and Roger."
Oh my.
Yeah, that's one of those moments when you're like, oh shit.
Oh boy. Yeah.
So, what they did was they gave Mark a small crew. They gave Roger a small crew.
No way.
And they told him to come up with different versions of the story. May the best man win.
Oh my lord.
It was a bake-off.
Oh, what? They actually did that?
Yeah, 4 years into the making of this movie, they were like, okay, you know what? The only way that we're going to do this is a competition.
Competition.
Because we can't fucking decide what we want to do, so we're going to make you decide for us. Just make it better.
Oh my lord.
It was literally Tim Gunn sitting in there going, make it work.
Oh my gosh. They had a competition.
Yeah. So, and it was weird for the crew because like some of them that were working hardcore with Roger were assigned to Mark's team. And they're like,
Man.
So we've been working for the last 4 years to make Roger's vision come to life.
And now
we're trying to destroy it.
Oh my lord, that's awesome.
So like that's the like this is the sweatbox. Like it's make a fucking hit or find another job.
I hope you made plenty of friends in training, everyone. Because now you got to try and kill them.
Yep. Okay, so executive producer Don Hahn, fantastic name, Don Hahn.
Don Hahn?
Said, quote, "It was a bake-off, plain and simple. Katzenberg, rightly or wrongly, would say, okay, we're doing Pocahontas. It's Dances with Wolves meets Romeo and Juliet. We're doing that. A bake-off was more about the indecision in the ranks. There was a lack of executive leadership that could just say, we're doing this, and then we're doing that. So, like, nobody was in charge, and they were just like, I don't know, kill that guy.
Yeah. Jeez.
So essentially, leadership was so indecisive and said that they're going to create an environment that is so toxic.
Pretty much.
So people on Mark's team were stressed out because they were like, oh, we were really trying to help Roger. We really believed in his thing, and now we're going to go compete against Roger in his movie. So after the 2 weeks had passed, the day of the big showdown came.
Ding, ding, ding.
Both teams sat together in the big story room and
in the left corner.
and Tom and Peter came in to judge. So, yeah.
Just your might.
So in the left corner, we have Roger. He went first and pitched his epic drama again. He pitched an epic drama
thing.
again.
Oh, okay.
Some adjustments, some new ideas. And then it was time for Mark's team. He got up and present. Okay, so you remember that scene in Emperor's New Groove where Pacha meets Cusco for the first time, and Cusco is just like, I just want an okay spot for my pool, and he smashes down Cusco-topia on top of Pacha's small family hut.
Cusco-topia, yep.
That's essentially what Mark's pitch was on top of Roger's pitch.
Oh my gosh.
He just went,
excellent comparison.
Cusco-topia.
He really said, boom, baby.
Literally. So, basically what happened was Mark made his pitch. It has a radically different tone to what Kingdom of the Sun has been. Tom and Peter were practically rolling on the floor with laughter at some of the all of the new comedic elements that were pitched. So everybody could tell there was a clear winner.
Yep.
And Roger, having already been pretty aggravated and defeated with the way things were going, graciously conceded his loss. And he could have stayed on as a directing partner, but he felt like the story was, quote, reduced to something he was no longer interested in. And after staying on and putting so much work into a film that wouldn't get made, it was too disheartening for him.
Mm-hmm.
He actually made the comparison. His daughter was going off to college, and he was like, it was basically like I was saying goodbye to 2 babies.
Wow. Damn.
Yeah. Okay, so now with Roger Allers out of the picture, Mark was ready to go forward with his new comedy. It was basically like, well, he ain't getting any deader. Back to work.
Yeah, pretty much.
All right. There was only one loose end to deal with. And this one would sting.
I hate you.
Get it? Because it's Sting.
It's Sting. Oh my god,
Sting
dude, I totally
Sting is
get
the
it.
loose end.
Dude, I
The
got
artist.
it. Yeah. Oh my god, that's awesome. That's so cool.
Oh my god.
Honestly.
Yeah. Okay,
God,
so
that's so
producer Randy Fulmer was literally like he was the person that they called to when they had to like talk to Sting. He was the bad news delivery boy.
Oh my god.
So he called Sting up and he was like, "Hey, buddy, you still want to make music for the movie? Because like the stuff that you made over the past 4 years, yeah, it was great.
Gosh.
But it's not really gonna fit this new movie. But we love you, and we love you, and we want you to be a part of this. So yeah, how you feeling, buddy? You still up for this new thing, Sting?
New Sting?
My man."
And of course he said, I'd be delighted.
Well, you know what Sting said?
Oh god.
I got a quote.
Oh my god, there's a quote. Okay.
He said, "Well, good luck, gentlemen. I'm going to the Himalayas. I may return."
I may return.
This prick was just like, "Fuck you guys. I'm going on vacation. I need to find my inner peace in the mountains."
Oh my gosh. Dude, that's where and then when they made fucking they didn't make that. That was I was about to say Monsters Inc.
Welcome to the Himalayas. And then Sting is like there in the background.
They tried to get him in to voice the Yeti. But he said, I'm still in the Himalayas.
All right. So, in spite of the uncertainty.
Uncertainty.
Who's
Sturtenstein? When did he get added to the story?
Uncertain Sting. In spite of the uncertain Sting being a part of the project anymore, the show must go on.
Sure.
And, back to work was the attitude of the studio. The first major change that they made was the film's title. They changed it from Kingdom of the Sun to
The Groove of the New Emperor.
Kingdom in the Sun. That was right. Yeah, you were so
They
close.
changed it to Kingdom in the Sun. Oh, man.
Because it didn't have
we've seen that before with Edge of Indolence.
The
Precipice
edge
of bad.
duplicity. the border of
Duplicity? Is that what it actually is?
Yeah,
now?
I don't fucking know what it is.
Dude.
It's a stupid movie. All right, so
I like the precipice of bad.
the precipice of Bad Town.
The precipice of bad town.
The bad of really shitty movie town. Okay. So you know how they've been working on this for 4 years.
Yeah.
They had 1.5 years to complete it.
Sure.
Clock was ticking.
Yep.
There was no time for mistakes.
Nope.
Ironically, this would still delay the film the 6 months that Roger asked for, but they got the green light anyway.
Oh my lord.
You'd be like, Roger sitting there like, they didn't give me 6 months, but they'll give Mark 6 months. All right.
Okay, whatever.
Fine.
You
Okay.
know who the real favorite child is.
I know. Roger's like,
I can see that I'm no longer everybody's favorite.
I don't know why we got a little cameo of Jeanette right there.
Can't little cameo. Okay, continue.
Okay, so one good thing that they got was to put some distance between the release and the release of DreamWorks, The Road to El Dorado.
Oh.
A
Wow.
former Disney leading Katzenberg produced film, also set in South America, with music by Elton John.
Oh my lord.
Coincidence?
I think not. That's so funny.
He literally laughed and was like, "So I got this idea. I got this idea for a movie it hasn't been made yet, and we gotta
go
get fast.
now.
We gotta go now.
Oh my god.
It's a really great idea, and I think, well, they got Sting. Elton, you remember me? You remember what we did on Lion King together? Let's do it again.
Man.
Road to El Dorado. So, Mark's New Kingdom in the Sun took what they liked from the original film, which was just David Spade as Manco. He's the voice of Cusco.
All right.
Eartha Kitt as Yzma. the idea of an Incan prince learning humility after turning into a llama.
Yep.
Literally everything else was scrapped.
Okay.
That was it. That was the bones they were working with. The romantic storyline, the Incan mythology, the rest of the cast that had already recorded.
Oh.
All gone. Now the story was revolving around Manco and Yzma. And originally, like, Manco was supposed to be a minor character. It was all supposed to be about Pacha.
Jeez.
So they decided Manco needed a foil. And instead of making Pacha look exactly the same as him, they made him an older fatherly figure. So with the doppelganger storyline no longer in play, they had to redesign Pacha and Manco. And in addition to the redesign, Manco was renamed Cusco.
Mm-hmm.
Want to know why? It was because they discovered... Why? No, you don't?
No,
I'll just skip that part.
Trying to ask why. I'm sorry. No, I don't want to know why. Take that part out.
I'll just skip. Okay.
No,
so unfortunately, it was because they discovered that Manco...
Yeah.
Translated to pussy in Japanese.
No way! It was about to be Pussytopia.
Pussytopia.
Gotta get rid of your house to make way for Pussytopia.
He was opening up the world's biggest brothel.
Jeez, let's go, baby. Damn, I would have paid big money to see that Disney movie.
Oh, I'm sure. You and a lot of other men.
Oh my god.
Welcome to Pussytopia.
Awesome.
Complete with water slide.
Oh god, that's terrible. Oh no.
No, David Spade was in an interview where he was like, I think it's because it translated to pussy in Japanese, but that's not what they were concerned about. It's because it translated to bad movie in Turkish.
What?
That was a joke.
I was gonna say that's not true. Okay.
No, it was definitely because it was pussy in Japanese.
Manco?
Manco. So you remember that. Write that down, everybody.
Yeah, write that down, yeah.
Okay, so unfortunately, but not entirely inaccurate, if we're being honest with Cusco's character. That was the next thing that I wrote.
Oh my gosh.
He's a bit of a pussy.
Nice.
Okay, so the last big change that they made was the addition of a new scene-stealing character.
Kronk.
Hell
yeah.
So the funny thing about this character is that they kind of let the voice actor Patrick Warburton improvise, and he really just made Kronk himself just around him.
Yeah.
Okay, so the idea of him singing his own theme music out loud when he's carrying a body, they were like, okay, we kind of like think that you could be like singing your own theme music, and Patrick just goes, I got you, here we go, and made up the whole thing on the spot.
Oh my gosh. Was it first take Drake?
One take.
Hell yeah.
They had none of it animated. It was just him in a recording studio, just like.
Oh my god.
Yeah. Okay, so February 2000. Remember, this started in
Oh my
1994.
Oh my god.
So Nick has entered the world in the making of this movie.
Oh my god, I did, yeah.
The new film was announced as
The Emperor's New Groove.
Finally, yes. The rush timeline that they had to complete this gave the crew a sense of urgency, but also allowed them to conduct with an anything goes attitude.
Yeah, I mean, so like probably because the idea was not like none of the comedy was probably really there yet.
Yep.
And then as the movie went on, people were like, "Oh, we should add this here," and they were like, "Okay, yeah." And then somewhere in there was that opening scene where he says, "You threw off my groove." And they were like, "Dude, this is perfect. Let's rename the movie."
Yeah, probably. Honestly, that's probably what happened.
I mean, what would make a great movie title? That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's probably how the best movies are made, because I've found that trying to write stuff and trying to include the comedy in up front makes it much more difficult.
Yeah.
Because you're like, oh man, this part isn't funny enough. Like, if you just start with like a basic ass script and then just read it out later and add some comedy, then it works out so much better.
Yeah, so that was the great thing about this film. There was no script.
Yeah. Oh.
There was no script.
Well, like at all? Even until the end?
None.
Not even after.
There was never a full script. They were in a room, like all of the writers were in a room, and they would just pitch crazy sketches, and they would call in the cast to read them.
Oh my God, really?
And because of that, quote, "This quickly became a movie where a trampoline salesman makes sense."
A trampoline salesman. I forgot about that part.
So the writing process was really just a comedy writer's dream.
Yeah.
Normally and this is basically what it was. Normally in a writing room, someone will pitch an idea as a joke, and someone will go, "That's really funny, but what are we really gonna do?" For this movie, they would take those ideas and say, "Do it."
That's really funny, period.
Literally, that's really funny, period.
Fund it.
So, for example, and this is a movie where a trampoline salesman makes sense.
Right.
Kitten, Yzma, is falling off the tower, and they know she's not going to go splat. So what are we going to do? And someone said, what if there's a trampoline salesman at the bottom and she hits it and bounces back up? And they went with that.
Well, what am I going to do with this trampoline? I just finished.
Well, buddy, you could have told me that before I set it up.
Oh my God. That's how that came to be. That's awesome.
All right.
And it makes total sense.
Yeah.
That's how that came to be.
Yeah. It's literally just like one thing after another. They were like, yeah, let's do that. A lot of it was also David Spade just making a bunch of jokes and then like having to reel him back in.
That level of like, oh, what if there happens to be a trampoline salesman at the bottom? That is the same like level of writing and comedy that went into the robot pulling Mr. Incredible apart.
Yeah.
And then his back cracks and he's like, ha ha ha, and then beats the crap out of the robot.
So that's probably
That's
honestly,
exactly the same level of comedy.
honestly, like they were probably like, oh no, I think that would actually work.
Yeah, like we need him to start kicking ass at some point. How do we do that?
Literally, this writing room was like they would just dick around for an hour and then have 15 minutes of just like really good productivity where they would come up with these like really elaborate sketches that were just hilarious and would work really well in this story that they were creating one sketch at a time. And then eventually they like kind of pieced it together and they were like, okay, so like this is kind of like where we're going with this. He's going to go up to the hill and then he has to get back and like there's going to be a chase scene. Like I'm 100% sure that they were like, but if they're like succeeding in the race where they're going back to the palace and Cusco and Pacha are like, you know, winning, how do Yzma and Crunk get there before them? And they literally did how did we get here before them? I don't know. By all means, it doesn't make any sense.
By all means, it doesn't make any sense.
It was literally, they couldn't come up with anything.
Oh my gosh. How did we make it here? By all That's awesome.
So yeah, they had all of the great elements of a movie. There was just like one last thing. It's like, I feel like a headache is coming on. Oh, what's that sting? Oh, hey.
Oh my gosh.
Right. Sting.
Sting. Another one. Awesome. A little stinger on the end there.
I'm going to get fired after this. He's going to be like, Jared, you're going to be my new podcast buddy.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, so now at this point, because of production delays, Sting had already stepped away from the project because he started writing a new album. And he was annoyed with the changes, saying, quote, "What attracted me to the old story in the first place was its epic scale, like kind of, you know, an Incan version of the Bible. Wow. The creation and tying it up in the present day and history, it was a massive film. And now they've reduced it to a smaller scale, and it's about a family, and it's about friendship. All good values, all very good values. I'm not criticizing it, but it's not the big scale anymore. So I'm kind of wondering whether my skills as a songwriter are necessarily pertinent to that kind of thing."
Interesting.
He's such a prick, right?
Yeah, I was going to say, that's like a little, okay.
I'm too big for this movie.
Smaller ideals they don't really work for me.
This doesn't sound like The Lion King anymore.
Yeah, geez.
Okay. So knowing the limits of the commitment he had left to the project, the studio told him that the 6 songs that he wrote might not work.
Yep.
As in, they're not going to work. but they still wanted them as bonus tracks on the official soundtrack. And eventually, when they got rid of that more serious version of Yzma and her original animator, Andres Deja, I think that's how you say it. He's French. Or Spanish. I don't know. Andreas Deja looks more like a Spanish name. I don't know.
Interesting.
He refused to return to the film because he was like, I came in this for this like serious, cool character, Yzma, and now you made her a joke and she's not as big in the film. And Fulmer informed Sting that all of his songs related to Yzma, which was a large part of the movie, were all dropped from the film, and Sting was not happy about that, saying, quote, "At first I was angry and perturbed. Then I wanted some vengeance."
Oh.
Disney eventually agreed to allow 3 of the 6 deleted
or never, yeah.
He agreed to allow 6 3 of the 6 deleted songs as bonus tracks on the film. That's not true. They got rid of 3 of them because he didn't want them on the bonus tracks. He was like, my music is too good for you. Fuck you.
Oh.
So they removed them and left only 3 of them.
Interesting. Okay.
This included Yzma's villain song, Snuff Out the Light, the love song, One Day She'll Love Me, and the dance number, Walk the Llama Llama.
Hell yeah.
Which went, walk the llama llama, walk the llama llama.
I don't think it did.
It did, actually.
Okay. All right. Well, that's convincing, I guess.
But they asked him to write one more song with 2 versions. And this was the beginning and the ending songs titled Perfect World. He's the son and lord of the nation. He's the hippest cat in creation.
Sting write
He's
those?
the alpha and omega, A to Z. Yeah, he wrote
Sting
that.
wrote those. He didn't record them, though.
He didn't. He liked it. He liked the sound of the Latin groove with the big horn arrangement. And he ran with it to write the song that we all know and love.
I learned how to play that.
It's such a good
small
song.
section of that for a school project.
It's so good. Yeah, but he wrote that, and he was asked by the studio to perform the song for the film, but he declined, saying that he was too old to sing it, and he thought they should find someone younger and hipper.
Interesting.
So they went with Tom Jones, who is 11 years older than Sting.
Dude, what the hell?
He was a performer in Vegas, which gave that energy of the actual character that they drew in to sing the song.
Yeah, dude. That actually, they animated it like it was freaking out of Vegas.
And that was they when they were redesigning the city, the Incan city, as like a more funny thing. They went for Vegas vibes.
Went for Vegas, yeah, that's funny.
So they were like, "Oh, Tom Jones, he's a Vegas singer."
Oh my gosh!
And regardless, he made an icon of that song.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, that's an awesome. He did an awesome job.
And they did actually give Eartha Kitt, who played Yzma, they recorded some lyrics for her version. Like when she took over the kingdom, she was supposed to have like a version of the song that she was talking about, how she's the new leader or whatever. But unfortunately, it didn't make the final cut.
Aww. Yeah, they were trying to come back with their epic villain songs. They needed another crap. What's Ursula's song? That was good too. Ursula's was a big one though.
Poor unfortunate souls.
Yeah, hers was huge.
Yeah, they were. They had a whole villain album. I mean,
no,
and I think
a big thing.
The thing is that Sting's song is so good. And I'm like really upset that it was never released because the parts
the villain song.
Yeah, the parts that they had in the documentary were actually really good, but like it was for a different movie, you know.
Yeah.
Okay, so they screened the first full version of the film for execs and for Sting. And originally the film ended with Cusco getting everything he wanted. He built his water slide theme park on the hill next to the family, and got to keep his newfound family. And Sting was fucking pissed.
Really?
he wrote a very strongly worded letter to Disney threatening to pull out of the film.
Oh my God. Okay.
Quote, "Gentlemen, when you've achieved genuine human values, you don't need a theme park or a water slide. I've been aware for a while now that my vision of the world and Disney's may be at odds. I can only be candid, but there's something intrinsically faulty with this film, and I find it very difficult to continue working on something that goes against my beliefs. I offer my views humbly, and I look forward to your response. Yours sincerely, Sting."
Mm-hmm.
The studio agreed. They were like, you know what? Maybe we shouldn't have this guy who just learned to like have good values and be humble, like getting a unnecessary theme park for himself. So they changed the ending to Cusco building a small similar shack to Pacha's and on the neighboring hill, and they had the little Cuscotopia as a bird bath.
Yes.
Yeah. So they like paid homage to the original thing that they said, but
that's nice.
They hired Mark Schumann to write the score for the film, but just like Sting, they ended up scrapping everything he did.
What?
And they started over with John Debney.
Okay.
Which is the actual creator of the score.
Yes.
So the whole experience really left a bitter taste with Sting. And the last thing Sting did was make one last Sting song, "My Funny Friend," for the credits. Which is why, after the movie ends, you have that weirdly unrelated song going underneath the end credits that just like it doesn't make any sense. Like you were just laughing out loud, and you have this.
Yeah.
That was his like homage to the old film. His like mourning of the old film.
Wow.
Yeah. But my favorite quote from the whole documentary that really sums up his feeling about corporate Disney and mine, quote, "I think it's a real concern of mine that I'm alloyed to this organization that seems to want to take the best of different cultures, suck them up, and then spit them out into something that's resembling a hamburger."
Wow.
Something that's like a hamburger.
Jeez.
So after all that work, Emperor's New Groove was considered a box office disappointment. Barely making back its original budget. That means they didn't make back the money that they went over. It grossed roughly $10 million opening weekend and ultimately made $89.3 million in the US with an additional $80 million worldwide, totaling at a measly $169.6 million.
My gosh.
The lowest box office earnings for an animated Disney feature since the 1980s.
Wow.
After apparently there was a re-release in 2021.
A re-release?
They re-released it in theaters January 2021. It earned an additional $334,000.
Oh.
And this was the nail in the coffin of the Disney Renaissance. The Disney Renaissance was over. The golden age of Disney was over. And despite its meager earnings, it received surprisingly good ratings and has a cult following to this day.
Yeah. We're part of it.
We are part of it. We are part of the cult following. The Sweatbox, the documentary Sting's wife made, documenting the 6-year journey, debuted at the Toronto International Film Festival in 2002, but was immediately buried by Disney. Pirated versions are the only ones that can be found and viewed to this day.
Wow.
And side note, the day of the release, one of the people from the archives, Disney archives, they said, okay, we need a copy of the script to go into the archives. And Mark Dindal said, there is no script. And they were like, you released the movie. We just need the script for the archives. And he said, there is no script. He's like, I can give you a box full of scraps of paper where we wrote things down. So what they ended up putting into the archives was a transcription of the movie that came out.
Oh my god.
After the fact. There really was no script.
That's crazy.
Yeah, so next week we'll get into the death of traditional Disney animation with the fiscal failures that were Treasure Planet and Atlantis. Until then,
man,
all I can
great
say
movies
is
too.
Thank you to Mark Dindal and John Debney, because without you, we would not have Run Llama Run.
Hell yeah.
And about 1 million relatable memes and quotes.
Yes, that's so true. Well, that was a story.
How do you feel?
I feel lighter. You know, I feel like a weight was taken off my chest now that I know all this critical information.
Yeah, now that we know that Sting really suffered for this movie.
Dude, it stung.
Sting got stung.
It's really stung.
He stung.
I was about to say that. I was about to sting, stunged.
Oh, shit.
Oh, man. Wow. Well, okay.
Yeah, so that was, Disney's most notable shit show. I guess we'll find out if there are more.
Yeah. Oh, there's more.
There's more.
There's always more.
There's always more.
With every grand success comes grand failure as well at some point. And Disney has had a lot of grand successes.
And
they will have a lot of grand failures as well. Wow. Well, thank you very much for listening.
We're glad if you made it this far. If not, we're not going to hold it against you.
And now, Megan, let's play him out. He's the Alpha and the Omega. He's the creator. He's the A to Z. Okay. All right.